Today on the Railway Room, I'm going to be trying to restore some old Whitemetal kit-built 009 locos. Hello friends, welcome to the Railway Room. So today I'm going to be trying to restore some old Whitemetal kit-built 009 locos. These are the locos that my dad built back in the 90s for his 009 layout, Rheilfordd Coed y Bleiddiau. And I filmed that layout about 2005-ish, shortly before it was dismantled, and the video of that was actually the first model railway video that I uploaded to the channel. But unfortunately, by the time that video was uploaded, all of the original locos had ceased to run. They were all non-runners. So I thought it'd be quite an interesting idea to get a hold of them and see if I can maybe try and get any of them running again. So first, let's just talk about the locos. So there was 6 originally on the layout. So the original 2 locos date from back in the 70s, and they are rebuilds of the Jueth Playcraft Decorville loco, mostly using parts from the Airfix Pug kit to transform the looks of them into slightly more British-looking locos. They eventually carry the names Gowrie and Bethgelert. For now, those 2 locos are enjoying their retirement, so they're going to stay there for now. But the other 4 locos, these 4 here, the ones that I'm going to be looking at today, they were built in the 90s using Whitemetal kits on N-scale chassis. So without any further ado, let's introduce you to the locos that we're going to be looking at today. So number 1, that's Talyllyn, and that's the Meridian Models kit on the Obertrin 040 cuckoo chassis. And the second one is Dolgoch on the Arnold 060 chassis with the central axle removed. I have to be quite careful picking some of these up. And the next one is Charles, and so that is the, it was Parkside Dundas at the time, so it's now Dundas Models kit on the Ibertron chassis. And the last one is Prince, which is the Langley kit on the, again, Ibertron cuckoo chassis. So, before we go any further, let's just quickly address the elephant in the room, which is ready to run. So obviously, at this point in time while I'm filming, Prince has been released by Pico Kato as a ready-to-run model, very nice looking. And Charles has now been released by Bachmann, which really looks stunning. I've seen those in the flesh. Talyllyn has been announced by Bachmann. Dolgoch is the only one of the 4 that's not either available or announced as ready to run. However, Bachmann have released Rheilfordd. So, with ready-to-run versions pretty much superseding all of these in terms of the quality, the detail, the accuracy of the chassis, things like that, what's the point in trying to restore these ones? Well, partly it's to do with restoring it, really. I'm modelling a preserved railway, so I think it's really appropriate to be able to get these older locos from another layout and restore them back to traffic on the new railway. I think that there's something quite nice about that. For me, though, really the big thing is these were locos that were built by my dad, and they're the locos that were running on his layout. That were my introduction to 009, and they were really kind of the start of my 009 journey. Without these locos, I probably wouldn't be here making a 009 layout now. So I really owe them a lot, and I think it would mean a lot to me personally just to get these locos back up and running, even if they're not necessarily as detailed or as good runners as the ready-to-run ones. Just personally it's going to mean a lot to me to see them up and running again. So let's crack on and see if we can work out what's wrong with them and why they're not working. So I'm going to take Dolgoch first and talk about her separately, because she's a bit different to the other 3 for a couple of reasons. So the first is that Dolgoch is running on the Arnold chassis, whereas the other 3 all have similar Ibertron chassis. And this is originally an 060 chassis, but the central axle is actually not geared and it doesn't have pickups, so it can easily be taken out without affecting the running qualities of the chassis. So it is originally an 060 chassis, but it's now a long wheelbase 040. Dolgoch's also a little bit different because it's the only one of the four where the reason why it's not running is actually already known, and that's because during a piece of maintenance a blob of superglue got stuck in the gears, completely jamming it. So essentially that was pretty easy to fix in a way, because it just meant that the chassis was a write-off. We knew that, could salvage some parts from it, but all I had to do was buy a new or second-hand chassis as a replacement, which I've already done. This is the replacement one. Swap that in, and Dolgoch is now good to go. In fact, if you watched the first video of the build of my new layout, you will already have seen the original Dolgoch running again on the test trains on that new layout. So there's still a bit of work to do around the body. There's a couple of places where the paint's chipping off and things like that. But that's the same with all four of them, because they've all been in storage for 15 to 20 years at least. They've not run in that time really. So I'll be tackling the bodies separately at the end, seeing what I can do to them, and just doing the chassis first. So Dolgoch, already up and running, good job, just a replacement chassis. So let's move on to the three Ibertron ones. And first thing I'm going to do is see if I can work out what's wrong with the chassis. So I'm going to take the bodies off. And there are also issues with the bodies of some of these where they're starting to split. I don't know if you can see there, the saddle tank and boiler of Talyllyn starting to come away from the rest. So the first thing I'm going to do is to try and work out if the motors are still good. So I'm just going to try and apply power directly to the motors, see if they've got any life in them. These are actually pretty old motors now. There's a fair chance that I might just wind up replacing the motors on all of these anyway, because it will help the running. But first we need to work out if the problem is in the motor or if it's somewhere in the chassis. That's even better. There we go, got the motor out. So, oh, there we go. So, Prince's motor is working. This one is Charles's. I think the motor's been glued into place on that one. So let's see if I can poke in underneath. Yeah, so there's definitely life in that motor. And last but not least, this is Talyllyn. And again, yeah, the motor's glued into place. Now the reason why the motors have been glued into position in these is because in the original N-gauge loco, the body fits really tightly and that holds the motor in position, whereas the Whitemetal bodies, there's a little bit more gap, and so it kind of needs to be glued into place, otherwise it's just a lift up and it won't make contact with the worm and the gears. I'm sure I'll be able to prise the motor off if I need to. Let's just see what we've got. Whoop! That bodes well. So yeah, life in all of the motors, so that's good. So now we just need to try and work out why there's power is not getting from the wheels through to the motor. So looking, I can see some of these. There's quite a bit of muck built up on the tyres and the wheels there. Okay, so this one's Talyllyn's chassis, and I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but
But underneath the pickups here there's oodles of gunk. Let's see. You can see it there on my finger. There's quite a bit more. Look at all that. And it's going to be the same on all of the wheels, I think. Gosh, look at all that. So, yeah, I'm just going to go around, clean all of this gunk out. And I'm not sure if you can see, but there's also a lot of gunk built up within the teeth of the gears. So I'm just going to try and tease out what I can with my screwdriver. And then rotate the motor by hand to move on to the next tooth. Let's see if I can clean that out a bit. It should help things along. Okay, so if I try Talyllyn's chassis now, that's looking good. Try the front wheels. It's not quite so good, so something's not quite right there. So those two still work, so let's try these combination of wheels. Oh, let's try this one. Oh, there's nothing from there, is there? From either. So the pickups from the rear two are good. The front two are not great, and this one is completely dead. So I just need to check, make sure what contact we've got. And also on the worm of the motor. So I've just popped the valve gear off on this side, and you can see that the length of the contact is barely enough to reach the wire and the wheel. And in fact the wheel has a bit of movement in it, and once it's at its furthest down it can't reach it. So I kind of want to try and get this wire back onto the rim of the wheel if I can. Bend it that way. So it's still just this one wheel where it's a bit dodgy. So what I may need to do with that wheel is try and source some more copper strip and solder it on to the end to extend that pickup onto the wheel. But for now, hopefully, the weight of the body on it will push the wheel up onto the pickup when it's actually on the track. So let's put it on the track and see what we can do, how it goes for now. So I'm just going to test the chassis on its own first before I look at the putting the body on. So let's see. One other thing to note about this one I didn't mention before is the pony wheels on here are actually attached to the chassis. They don't swing at all, and the bottom of them has been filed off so they're clear of the rails. So they're actually just a dummy pony truck. And the reason for that is the railway that it originally ran on had extremely tight curves. So that was just to shorten the wheelbase so it could actually run around the corners. So let's check it with the body on.
Oh. So it's a little sticky. Fundamentally, there we go. Now I think there was a sticky moment there, but one thing with this logo is that the body is actually in the process of falling apart. If we have a little look there, the glue is starting to come off, so once I've sorted that out, got it all glued better and cleaned up the body, hopefully that's going to cure those little hiccups that there were. So this one is Charles's chassis. I've just popped the motor off, and obviously the connecting rods here need cleaning up. But what I have noticed, if you look, this contact here should be on that wheel and it's not touching at all. So I'm just going to bend that back and double check all the other wheels as well, make sure they're all touching and that the underside of the contact strips is clean. Okay, so this is Charles. I've been in, done exactly the same as I did for Talyllyn, cleaned all the gunk out from the pickups, bent that pickup back into position and had a good squirt round of electrical cleaning fluid, and let's see. So the contact seems a little intermittent on this one. Now the reason why the wheels weren't turning all the time is because the motor is no longer fixed in position, so it's just lifted out of the worm hasn't been properly engaged. Let's give Charles's chassis a whirl. See what we've got. Oh, it's a little stiff. Oh. He's not very happy, is he? So, it doesn't seem to like slow speed once it gets going. Oh, here we go. Yeah, obviously that motor hasn't turned in probably 20 years or more, so. Let's just try it with the body on. It's very, very noisy. And it is a little bit hesitant. Let's see. I might have another go at yeah, I might have another go at the contacts. It does seem to be improving the more that it runs though, so oh yeah, like it's definitely improving. So on to print now, and there was actually no gunk at all around the pickups on this one. It was perfectly clean. I had a good spray around with a contact cleaner. What I did find stuck inside the gears was this, which is a little piece of old glue somehow got stuck in there. So I think that's largely the main reason why this was not working. So hopefully once that gunk's out of the gears, let's see. And on every combination of wheels we're getting the motor turning. The wheels aren't going around because the motor's not glued into position, so the gear's not engaging, but that's not a problem. I just need to glue that back into position and then that'll be good to go. Print's sorted. And so Prince's chassis is Put them on. Let's see what we've got. Oh, right, interesting. This is much quieter than the other two, even though it's fundamentally the same. It is a little bit squeaky, but I think it seems to be wobbling slightly. I feel like the issue that I'm going to have with this is that it's struggling with no body on it more than the other two were for some reason. So I'm going to put the body on and see if that helps with the extra weight. Because obviously they're not designed to run pure chassis with no body. So let's see. Well, I mean that is much smoother and happier, isn't it? Oh. I don't think I was quite on. Either the body wasn't quite on, or the wheels weren't quite on the track properly. I mean, these locos were never great super slow runners. Cool, so they're all up and running again now. The chassis goes. So I think that seems like a pretty good place to end part 1 of this video. And I'll be back again in part 2 in a couple of weeks to work on the bodies. We're going to get those restored, add some extra detail, things like that. So if you're watching this in the future, that video is going to be already uploaded. If you're watching this video when it first comes out, then I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, do commenting, like, subscribe, all that jazz. No pressure, it's all good. And thank you. I'll see you again in the future. Cheers.